What is good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode brought to you by the League FFB. Hopefully, you guys all had a great Thanksgiving weekend, but fantasy football continues. It is week 13. We're talking waiver wires, and these are my top 5 pickups. So without wasting any more time, let's hop right into this video. Let's talk about the first guy that I like. Now, the first player that I want to talk to you guys about today is going to be Pat Freiermuth, tight end for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he's currently being rostered in about 48% of leagues. I talked about Pat on a video where I said he could be a potential league winner just because of his matchup down the stretch. That matchup being week 15 against the Colts, week 16 against the Cincinnati Bengals, and week 17 against the Seattle Seahawks. And the Pittsburgh Steelers fired offensive coordinator Matt Canada. Didn't take very long for Pat Freiermuth to get rolling. This week against the Cincinnati Bengals, keep in mind that is a team that he is playing in the fantasy football playoffs. He had 9 receptions on 11 targets for 120 yards. So finished this week as the tight end 1 in fantasy football for your PPR leagues. So Pat Freiermuth, he's going to be my number 1 pickup on the week. And again, this is a guy who could be a league winner down the stretch. Now, the second player that I think you guys should be picking up is going to be Jayden Reed, wide receiver for the Green Bay Packers. And he's currently being rostered in about 47% of leagues. But Jayden Reed, again, he's somebody we've been talking about on this channel for a couple weeks now. I feel like he keeps ending up in these waiver videos, and for some reason, he is still never crossing that 50% roster threshold. So for whatever reason, Jayden Reed is still available in more than half of your guys' leagues. I think he needs to be picked up. We are now 3 weeks in a row where Jayden Reed has been a top 24 wide receiver. In 2 of those 3 weeks, he was a top 12 wide receiver. So 2 wide receiver 1 finishes, a wide receiver 2 finish for your fantasy football teams. And he's coming off of a week here again where he had 4 receptions on 8 targets, 34 yards, a touchdown, 2 rushing attempts for 16 yards. Again, he's being used very creatively. I've said this before in the past, but Jayden Reed is definitely somebody that you guys should be picking up. Jordan Love seems like he's getting better and better every single week, and Jayden Reed should definitely be on your fantasy football rosters, especially because week 13 has quite a few buys, so maybe you need to flex Jayden Reed here this week. Now, the third player that you guys should be picking up, and keep in mind it's getting to that time of year where handcuffs are going to be very important for these fantasy football runs, and I'm going to be picking up Ezekiel Elliott, 45% roster percentage, running back for the New England Patriots. And Ezekiel Elliott, he has not wowed you by any means. I mean, when you look at the statistics last week, he had 9 carries for 46 yards. It's not been anything crazy for Ezekiel Elliott. However, Ramondre Stevenson has been playing very, very good football as of late, and Ezekiel Elliott has had low-end flex appeal even in matchups with Stevenson playing. A couple weeks here now in a row where he's had double-digit points in your PPR leagues. So there are worse options than Ezekiel Elliott if nothing happens to Ramondre Stevenson. But if something did happen to Ramondre Stevenson, if there was an injury, if there was anything that kept Ramondre off of the football field, Ezekiel Elliott would step in. And these next couple weeks of matchups are really good for the New England Patriots. They get the Chargers run defense, the Steelers run defense, the Denver Broncos run defense. There are some good defenses on this schedule, and I think Ezekiel Elliott should be picked up and rostered by all Ramondre Stevenson's fantasy football managers, and he should definitely be picked up and rostered by anybody who doesn't have Ramondre Stevenson, just as a high-end upside play on your bench. Now, keeping up the theme of handcuffs, we're going to talk about Roschon Johnson, another player I think you should be picking up, running back for the Chicago Bears, only being rostered in 32% of leagues right now. And again, Roschon Johnson, he's kind of a handcuff right now to Khalil Herbert, Donta Foreman. It's a little bit of a messy backfield. Obviously, Donta hasn't played very much lately. He's been injured. But this week, just last night against the Minnesota Vikings, Roschon Johnson had his highest rushing attempt game of his career. He had 10 carries. He also had his highest receiving yard game of the year, 5 catches for 40 yards. And he finished as a top 21 running back in your PPR leagues. He had 12.5 fantasy football points. And this is a player who we're kind of hoping, we're kind of projecting that he's going to get more involved. Again, this is a guy who was drafted by this regime. He's very talented. We've been hoping that they would kind of unleash him and give him more and more of the workload as the season went on. Now, keep in mind that if you're picking up Roschon Johnson, he is on bye here in week 13. But after that, he's going to have the Detroit Lions, the Cleveland Browns, the Arizona Cardinals, and the Atlanta Falcons. So some tougher matchups, but we're hoping that he kind of gets handed this backfield after the bye week. And last but not least, we've talked about some of these teams being on byes and you potentially maybe needing a plug-and-play starter. It's kind of what I mentioned with Jayden Reed. This is a lot deeper of a play. It's going to be Greg Dortch, wide receiver for the Arizona Cardinals, currently only being rostered in 8% of leagues. But we now have 2 weeks in a row now where Greg Dortch has received 8 targets and 9 targets in back-to-back weeks. Both of those weeks, he has scored 13 and 12 fantasy football points, and he has been a top 36 wide receiver and a top 24 wide receiver in both of those weeks, giving you wide receiver 3 or wide receiver 2 numbers, and it seems like he is slowly getting more and more involved into this offense. Obviously, Kyler Murray is added back to the offense. The offense looks better as a whole, and this week, with all of those buys from all of those teams, the Bills, the Bears, the Vikings, and more, Greg Dortch and the Arizona Cardinals, they get to play the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, that's a little bit tougher of a matchup. Obviously, Joey Porter out there, he's going to be guarding Hollywood Brown. It's a little bit tougher for Hollywood Brown there, but I don't think that Greg Dortch is going to be keyed in by that defense. I think Greg Dortch is going to be a fine flex play this week. And again, we've had 2 where he scored about 12 or more fantasy football points for your rosters. So if you need a quick band-aid for a single week, I would say Greg Dortch is worth the pickup. Now, that is all I have for you guys today. If you did enjoy the video, go ahead and hit that like button. It is the best free way to show our channel some support. Also, make sure you are hitting that subscribe button and hit that notification bell. That way you are notified every time we post a new video. We show up in your subscription feed and you never miss one of those when they come out. And last but not least, make sure you join our free Discord. We have a free Discord of fantasy football players where we talk fantasy football 24/7, 365. So make sure you're joining that Discord. Like I said, it is free to join. And with all that being said, I will see you guys on the next video. But until then, peace out.